I got tricked into using field. I was drunk and I
Oh
thought it
God.
was, I think I wrote on the profile, like, I'm looking for a guy that's, really lovely. Something that's just like
Yeah.
very PG. And people were like, yeah, I'm looking for FFM. And I'm like, what? What is FFM?
I've had friends that have like been on it and they'll be like interests, hobbies, sex swings would be like one of them. And somehow that got incorporated into a hobby. Like,
Good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening. I'm Sam Ellie, and this is Lonely Heroes, the show that shares stories, tips, and tricks to those moving abroad and the as yet undecided. Today on the show, I have Lucas, who has moved all the way from where?
Ireland, Derry,
Is that Northern Ireland? For some reason, whenever I say Ireland in an
in an
Irish
Irish
accent.
accent.
I
Yeah,
don't know why.
I think everyone's guilty of that. But
I'm sorry.
do you have family in Ireland as well? That's normally the next question that people are like,
Absolutely
oh, I'm half Irish, I'm a quarter Irish, I'm an eighth Irish.
no Irish, just the word Ireland.
Okay, gets you
Ireland.
every time. Ireland, yeah,
Yes. So you've moved to London.
yes.
When did you move to London?
2022, so 2 years ago, about April time. But I didn't move from Derry, where I'm from. I moved from Newcastle, where I studied for university. So it was the next big move.
So you moved from Derry to Newcastle, and how long were you in Newcastle for?
I was there for about 8 years, 7, 8 years, but I had some stints away, moved home for a bit, did a ski season, broke my collarbone,
Classic.
classic. Thought I was Shaun White for a day or two. He's a famous snowboarder.
Okay, I didn't know who that was. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I
I
see
got
what you
that from your
mean by
facial
that.
expression. Then moved back to Newcastle after I graduated. London was always the next move, but it just took me a bit longer to get here.
It's quite far away from Newcastle.
I think planning wise, I always planned to come after I graduated in 2018, but didn't actually get here until 2022. But the timing was still okay.
I was just counting on my fingers how long that was. It's like
Four.
4 years. 4 years, a chapter,
Throw
you
a
could say.
pandemic in there as well.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yes, that little thing that we had to
Yeah.
all endure. What's your situation now? Like, where do you live in London?
I own a flat in Brixton with my friend, and we bought last year. I'm a mortgage advisor for work, so I kind of thought I had to
Okay.
give myself some of my own advice eventually. And we've been in the flat for about a year in Brixton, but before my first year was in Tooting, and I quite like Brixton. I prefer to Tooting a bit.
Beck or Broadway?
I was actually in between Beck and Broadway and Tooting, right in the middle, if you know, like quite close to the high street, just one of those side roads.
So you said that was there sort of a reason that you came to? You said it was always part of the plan. What did you mean by that? There were just more opportunities here.
Yeah, big thing was opportunities, but other things would probably include the fact that I'm quite an outgoing person. I'm a bit of an extrovert, so I like meeting new people and going to new places. And London kind of offers a lot of that. And a lot of my friends who I studied with came down to London as well. So I kind of knew I'd have a good nice base of friends. Once I came down, it wouldn't be like I'd be moving to a big city, not knowing anyone and starting from scratch. So that was kind of reassuring. And yeah, I think just, the nightlife here is more around, my age, I guess, Newcastle.
Which is your age?
28.
Ah.
Yeah. Newcastle, obviously, being one of the biggest student cities in the UK. Northumbria alone, where I studied, had 30,000 students. And then you had Newcastle Uni, top that up with another 30,000. It was such a heavily dense student city, as in, like, when you went out and you were no longer a student, you kind of felt your age.
I see.
But obviously, you could find spots or bars or parts of Newcastle where you would get people maybe more your age, like young working professionals between 25 and 35 maybe, but I think that was why I wanted to move to London.
You're just like, where are all the mortgage advisors? I just need to move to
Yeah,
London to be with my people.
I know, exactly. And properties are so much more expensive down here, so extra
Yes.
commish.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Good for you. I mean, as you say, you kind of knew or know people
Yeah.
in London already, but was there anything that sort of surprised you about coming to London and living here? Anything that you kind of thought, well, oh, I didn't realize that would be the case?
I think the biggest surprise was just how enormous it was. Like, you just do not know how big a city can be until you move to a place like London. And for the size of it, it's almost like there's 10, 20, 30 small towns built in London. And I think that's what kind of took me back the most. It was a lot of getting used to, meeting up with a friend for a pint or going on a night out and traveling over an hour to go see that person or go to that place. You just don't do that in any other city in the UK. Like even like the next biggest city or one of the next biggest cities like Manchester, it's all walking distance.
And
So
what's
you know what I
Derry
mean?
like?
Derry's tiny. I mean, I don't even know how it's classed as a city. I mean, where it lacks in size, it makes up for in personality and crack. Like
Which
super
crack
friendly.
means
Yeah,
fun, I guess.
yeah. Crack
In
probably
Irish.
would translate to fun.
Not the
Yeah,
drug, the
not the
fun.
drug. Yeah, definitely not.
Oh, good.
And it's spelled a bit different as well, like Craic.
You
So
Irish and the way you
yeah.
spell stuff. London is a pretty exciting city. There's no
Mhm.
denying it. But obviously, at the same time, in a place filled with sort of lots of people, can feel a bit isolating as you're sort of going about your way in the city. Have you felt that experience before?
I mean, 100%. I think everyone who lives in London could probably have something to say about that. That you go through spells of loneliness, and you can be surrounded by, like you said, 8 million people, and still experience that kind of feeling. I'm quite fortunate just because I've got like such a large group of friends, whether it's uni friends or friends from Ireland. But even when you have a large support network, it still might not be enough, because if you're not speaking about it, you're only putting yourself in a situation where you can still kind of fall into that trap. I think that's the one thing I kind of, if I could take something out of Derry and put it into London, it would just be like how friendly people are back home. And like you would literally like say hello to a complete stranger walking past you in the street. Like I can appreciate London, you're walking past a lot more people, so you don't want to be stopping and saying hello to every single person that you're walking past.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you just never get to where you're trying to get to.
I actually had a lot of that in Brixton. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of people were
Mm.
very, very friendly.
Yeah.
Because I lived
Aye.
on sort of the high street, sort of
Aye.
off the high street, it was a bit bizarre when someone started talking to me as I was walking to my front door. So it's kind of like they knew where I lived as
I
well.
think you're crazy for living so close to the high street in Brixton.
I
Like,
just wanted to live in the thick of it for a while.
I just don't even know how your thought process would even take you to that situation of thinking, yeah, I want to be like next to the tube station on the high street in Brixton, in and amongst all the craziness that happens there.
I mean, I just seek out drama.
Are you okay?
Well, I've moved out of there now. I think I like the
Ah,
idea of Brixton, and then
yeah.
I like the idea of living 5 minutes from the tube.
Aye,
But at
aye.
that moment, I was about 2 minutes. I was literally opposite the overground, Brixton Overground. People could see into my
Aye,
window from
yeah.
the platform.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that must have been fun every time you were getting changed.
Well, I don't know. Sure, I feel like nobody really saw me, but I saw everyone.
Yeah.
You see, you've been here for 2 years. Are you on the apps? Are you?
What, like dating apps?
I don't know. I mean, take that as you see it.
Or running apps?
Are you on a running app?
I'm not,
Oh,
no.
right, okay.
I mean, I'm on Strava, like, but not like part of a running club. But
Yeah, because I mean, people go on the apps. You say you already have
yeah,
enough friends, but I mean, you
Mm.
could go on apps to meet friends, not just date.
Yeah, 100%. One of the reasons why I moved to London was to meet new people. So I'm always open to the idea of putting myself out there to see what new experiences and relationships I can kind of build up and stuff. But dating apps, I guess, is one way.
What's your go-to?
A Hinge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't know
know
why.
why,
Yeah.
but Tinder's just like if you're looking for a shag. I guess Tinder's probably the go-to. There's loads though, isn't there? You've got Bumble where they get messages first, and then Field. Have you heard of Field?
Yeah.
Where you can put in your
I'm.
kinks.
Yep.
Like, but I'm just like old school classic.
You're
Like
not in your sort of like
no
the
pressure.
profile. Like this is exactly what I want in bed.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
I go through phases where I'm like, I'm off it for a while, I'll delete it, I'll turn off notifications. Like, it's just a bit exhausting, like, as a way to meet people. I'm definitely like an old fashioned guy where I'd rather meet people organically
Yeah.
on a night out or through a friend. Do you know what I mean? It's just strange because I hate the small talk. Like, I'd rather just skip everything and just like name a place and time and like go like meet up with someone. Sometimes it gets to the point where you're just like matching with people, but no one will ever talk to each other. it's just almost like a numbers game. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. In a lot of ways, dating is a numbers game because it's almost
Yeah.
like the more people you sort of try, just because they try on, the closer you kind of get to knowing what you want. It is kind of in it, like a lot of things in life are a numbers game. Yeah, Hinge is probably the only one I've used. I haven't used Tinder ever. I got tricked into using Field. I was drunk and I
Oh
thought it
God.
was. I think I wrote on the profile like, I'm looking for a guy that's really lovely. Think something that's just
Yeah.
like very PG, and people were like, yeah, I'm looking for FFM, and I'm like, what is FFM?
I've had friends that have like been on it, and they'll be like interests, hobbies, sex swings would be like one of them, and somehow that got incorporated into a hobby. Like,
I do agree with sort of talking about that kind of thing openly. That is a sort of a place where people can.
are
And
you
I'm
still
like,
on it now? Are
absolutely
you
not.
smashing Field at the minute?
That was in.
What is the Field dating scene like in East Finchley? Is it
I
like, is
don't.
it thriving?
I mean, yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think most people here are in their 50s, 60s, so
Oh,
that's
nice.
the
I'd
Field
say
demographic, isn't it?
Hampstead Heath as well.
Oh, yes.
That's a spot.
That is it, on the nice bright green
Yeah,
grass.
on the field.
On
in
the
Hampstead,
field,
in Hampstead
exactly.
Heath.
How do you actually find living in London? Are there things that you kind of really, really love about it? And if not,
I think I've got a love-hate relationship with London.
okay.
Where the hate part comes from is the winter, because I just think London in the winter is just a completely different vibe to like the summer. As in the summer, like everyone's just outside all the time, sitting on the grass in the commons, like Hampstead Heath, like just chilling, like Primrose Hill. Do you know what I mean? There's just so many lovely spots that you can appreciate the outdoors in the summertime, and then in the winter, it's like complete opposite. If
But
I
then I would
could,
think that Newcastle
it's
and
probably like that.
Derry would
Yeah.
probably have the same kind of
Yeah,
winters.
but Newcastle and Derry's got other things that London don't have,
I
like
see.
being close to the beach. And
Oh.
that's like one thing I do quite miss about Newcastle or back home in Ireland, to be exposed to fresh air. You don't realise how bad the London air is until you actually like leave the city and you're like, oh my God, like this is, you actually notice the difference.
I went. I don't know if you've ventured as far as Mill Hill East. It's literally just 2 stops away, or like even High Barnet, or even High Barnet, which is the
Yeah,
end of the tube line, the Northern Line, and the air
quality is
comparatively to
just.
Brixton as well.
Brixton had this about maybe 6 months ago, not maybe a year ago. There was a waste plant like near Brixton, and it went up in fire, and like the air pollution was like off the charts, and they were literally telling people to stay indoors and close their windows.
Jesus.
I know, it was mental.
Brixton
Might
was
have been
like,
after you
I
moved.
moved in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I go back a lot, so yeah,
Mm.
my therapist is there.
Oh, okay, nice. Sharon is Karen.
Sharing is
We're here
caring.
to
You know
talk.
what? I'm always going back there for that
Yeah,
one reason, not for the pollution and just the
the air
influx of
quality.
people. The
Yeah.
air quality,
The
exactly.
music, though, there's some banging music happening outside Brixton Station sometimes.
Oh, true.
There's singers, there's
I thought you were literally
performers.
going to say festivals like in Brockwell Park and
Well,
things
that
like
too,
that.
like, but yeah, you've got the street performers like absolutely smashing it.
Hailing Jesus.
Yeah.
Absolutely my fave guy.
They've got this like new stall where they're just constantly trying to like sell you like aftershave and perfume in these like golden glass bottles.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm dying to have a smell, but I don't want them to spray me because then I'm kind of obliged to buy it.
But then also you've got that, when I was living there, you have
Yeah.
that hot dog stand.
Oh,
That smell.
yeah,
that was
smell
Brixton
of
to me.
onions.
That was Brixton to me.
That's when you know you've only got 15 minutes left until you're back in the flat. Because I've got a
15
big
minutes.
walk, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm used to it, like, but any of my friends that come visit, they're like, oh, that walk's so long. But it's grand, it's grand.
I have to be under 10 minutes from the tube. That's the
Mm.
only thing I care about, really,
Yeah.
about living in London, because then you can just get to anywhere really, really quickly.
Aye.
Yes.
It's almost like if you're going on viewings with an estate agent, that is one of your big requirements.
Oh, absolutely.
10 minutes within a tube.
10 minutes or less.
You know what, though? I probably would have been the same, but the flat where we are now, like, I'm really, really happy because the location of it is just on Brixton Hill, loads of trees and greenery. You're like 5 minutes from Brockwell Park, and it's just such a nice walk. And you can literally see the Shard from the top of Brixton Hill. So
I
when you
know.
leave my flat and you're walking down, you can just see the Shard, and it's quite a cool view.
I think that's why I
Yeah.
fell in love with Brixton. When I was walking
Yeah.
from Clapham, where I used to live, towards Brixton once, I just saw London in the kind of like
Yeah.
back foreground, I guess. And then also the Bovril mural. I thought this is
Yeah.
just great.
Did that used to be a Bovril
I
factory?
honestly have no
Have
idea.
you ever tried Bovril?
I have tried
Yeah.
Bovril.
What do you
It's
think?
not as nice as
Nah.
Vegemite. It's actually not as
Yeah.
salty as Vegemite. Animal
Vegemite.
Marmite, but
Marmite,
Vegemite
yeah.
I prefer to Marmite, which is a whole
Yeah.
other.
Are you saying because they taste the same? Because Bovril to me is like gravy.
I don't know. It's in the same sort of like
Yeah.
jar thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in like a sort of.
I think my understanding of Bovril is different to your
I
understanding.
thought it
I
was
think we've
literally
tried two
like
different
the
things.
meat version of Marmite.
Ah. I mean, the only place I've had Bovril is like at a football game, and like it's in like a white plastic cup, and you can get like a paper cup, and it's like literally like a gravy drink.
I thought that it was basically something that you spread on bread.
No. Oh my
Oh,
God,
that's what I
Sam.
literally.
Oh my God, I knew you were thinking of something completely different because
Well, I was
when you
thinking
brought
of
out
like
Marmite, I
Marmite.
was like, okay, so Marmite obviously like, confuses people. They either love it or they hate it.
Well,
So
yeah, they
people
do
are
say
torn.
that.
So that's why I thought you were bringing Marmite into the conversation.
No, I just thought that
Yeah.
Marmite and Bovril were like the same thing. But
No.
incidentally, you just said. So is London your Marmite?
Ooh, maybe it is my Marmite,
You did
but
say you had a love-hate relationship with London, so.
I don't have a love-hate relationship with Marmite. I just don't like Marmite. But I could see like London being a Marmite for people, as in like anyone that comes will either love it or they hate it. Do you know what I mean? Or some people will just never try it because they just think the size of it is just too big.
I really love London. I've grown up here, but I do understand that for people who haven't, it can be quite overwhelming.
100%.
Moving anywhere, I think, that's new, that's not
Mm.
where you sort of are always used to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, even not moving at all, you feel that seclusion and
Yeah.
isolation. Is it everything that you've hoped and dreamed of now that you've bought a place in Brixton
I know.
near Brockwell Park?
Yeah.
Any regrets?
Not really, no. I'm quite happy with how everything kind of mapped itself out. In terms of what I expected, yeah, everything and more, I'd probably say. Definitely. In terms of like what you can do for fun and the people you can meet, and there's just always something going on. That's what I quite like about it. Especially if you're into like the music scene, I don't know, like underground music or electronic music. There's just always like an event happening, or your favorite DJs will be playing every weekend. Or if you like the theater or comedy or sports, like you can join a team anywhere. So there's just that's what I quite like about it. And like you've got a lot of skate parks as well, which is quite nice.
Skate parks?
Yeah,
Do you skate?
I do a bit when I
Are
was
you a
younger, a
skater
lot.
boy?
Yeah, a wee bit. Yeah, Avril Lavigne's playing at
Oh, right.
Glastonbury as well this year. I might have to just nip in and just hear that one
And hit
tune
her
of
with a
hers.
skateboard, yes.
I'll throw a skateboard onto the stage and just shout up to her and be like, "Do a kickflip."
A kickflip.
Yeah, a kickflip.
Maybe we'll do that after this. If someone's sort of like on the cusp of wanting to move to either London or just abroad or anywhere in general, what kind of advice would you give?
I would probably say to anyone that's looking to move to London or making a big change in their life is just get up and do it and don't think. Plan it, like, yeah, to a certain extent, obviously, like, just don't pack a bag and just be like, yeah, I'm away, and not tell your landlord.
Yeah.
Probably going to need that damage deposit back to help you get started in your first month.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Might help. I think for a long time, me thinking of moving to London, if it wasn't for two of my friends slash housemates who I lived with in Newcastle, I probably would have taken a bit longer to get here again, because it kind of happened all fast where all three of us were moving at the same time and we were going to get a flat together in London in 2022.
You were always going to buy a flat?
No.
Okay.
So this is just moving down to London in general. So when I was renting with two of my friends in Newcastle, all three of us always had this idea we wanted to move to London.
Yeah.
So we just said, oh, we'll move down to London together. And then another friend moved in with us, so there's four of us. He was already living down here, and one of my mates was like, oh yeah, like, so-and-so is going to do some viewings. If you're really keen, we'll look for a 4-bed. And I was like, yeah. And it was happening very fast, but I'm just so glad I went with it, because I feel like if I didn't go with it, there is a strong possibility I'd still be in Newcastle today if it wasn't for that kind of encouragement.
Dancing with the 21-year-olds.
Dancing with the 21-year-olds.
We went to a music festival in Liverpool, and it was basically for students, but we didn't realise that it was for students. And I remember a guy going up to me and sort of going, so what do you study? And I said, I work, and then he sort of just kind of shuffled
Oh
back.
my,
So
that is
was,
so awkward. I love the way he just gave up as well. Like,
was
he didn't even
oh
crack
shit,
on.
no, she's an adult, so fuck.
Jesus, his game's bad. If he's backing away after the first response, like, you need to work with what you're given. Like,
Not that I want to date a
yeah.
17-year-old, but there we are.
Oh, was
I
he
don't,
that young?
probably early 20s, but I think I
Yeah.
was 24, 25 at the time.
Yeah, you don't want to be dating any 17-year-olds.
So I think the moral of the story is move to London and just don't date any teenagers, is what you're saying.
Is that how we're going to wrap this up? Okay.
And also, Marmite is not the same as Bovril, and Bovril is a gravy drink.
Gravy beverage.
You
Yeah.
always learn something on these.
My work in Newcastle, like with my office, had a vending machine where you could get Bovril out of the vending machine.
That's disgusting.
No. It was such a flex. Like, how many offices in the UK have vending machines that can produce Bovril?
None. And you know
I'm
why?
telling you.
Because it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea, but, you know, the option's there. That's the moral of the story. If you're in search of a great gravy beverage, move to Newcastle.
All right, well, we're going to wrap this up now. I'm never really good at wrapping up. I never really know how to say goodbye. I think that's a different story for a different time. Thank you, Lucas.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I did
well,
all right.
10 out of 10.
Grand. Yeah.
And for the rest of you, have a good evening, morning, and afternoon. Bye.
Bye.